Takuya was a lonely virgin who pretended to marry his hot co-worker to avoid getting transferred to Ohio. However, as they spend more time with each other, they start falling in love for real until she wants him to crack her. It all starts on a busy day at Takuya's travel agency, where he's struggling to keep up with work because his brain runs like a low-budget Samsung phone. Just then, he notices his hot coworker named Rika, giving him a death stare, and this gives him a jump scare as he doesn't know how to talk to girls. After struggling to do the very job he was hired for, Bro calls it a day and heads home, where he rants to his cat about not getting any GAT despite pushing 30. The next day at work, he finds Rika staring at him again and starts panicking, thinking she's going to scold him for slacking. In reality, Rika is a creepy loner just like him, and she has a bad habit of staring at people without realizing it. She also does not have a social life, and the only thing that makes her remotely happy is browsing through maps and atlas books. The next day at work, the workers learn that their travel agency is opening a new branch in Alaska, and one of them will be selected as the manager. The only requirement is that they have to be unmarried, but despite having 0 chicks to his name, Takuya immediately opts out of it, saying he has to take care of his cat. However, their manager, Asako, tells him to reconsider as he's the most experienced and best suited for the job. Later, he overhears his coworkers mumbling about not wanting to go to Alaska until one of them suggests they get married to avoid getting picked. This feels like a dream for Takuya, whose social life starts and ends with his cat. Unbeknownst to him, Rika is going through the same dilemma, as she doesn't want to leave the comfort of her apartment, let alone the country. On the weekend, Takuya runs into Rika at the park, and as they pass by, he tells her he's going to quit. She figures it's because he can't leave his cat behind, and Takuya confirms this, saying he's raised this cutie with so much love and can't just leave her behind. Rika asks if he has a girlfriend who can look after the cat, but Bro glitches after hearing the word girlfriend and abruptly leaves. Suddenly, Rika stops him and casually says that they should get married so he doesn't have to quit, but his virgin-coded brain can't even register the thought of marriage. She explains that she doesn't want to go to Alaska, and since he doesn't want to leave his cat behind either, they should pretend to be engaged to stay here. Takuya worries that it won't work, but she adds that they both have 0 social presence and no one would even care. Since the Alaska branch is opening in a year, all they have to do is tell everyone they'll get married in a year and pray that everyone forgets about it. Takuya is desperate to keep his job and his cat, so he agrees to go with the plan. The next day, they inform Asako about their wedding, which naturally comes as a shock to her. Rika even asks her not to tell anyone, as they are trying to keep it low-key, but she gets overly excited about it, which makes them both nervous. However, Rika assures Takuya that she will handle it, as it was her plan to begin with. Later, Asako asks the lovebirds to draft a file, so they work until the evening to get it done. Strangely, Asako tells them to come to a restaurant to submit their work, but once they go there, they see that everyone has thrown them a surprise engagement party. With no other option, they are forced to act like a couple, so Rika grabs a bottle of champagne and heads to the back room to charge up. Meanwhile, everyone else surrounds Takuya and asks him if he cracked it or not, which makes him nervous. Just then, a drunk Rika returns and takes the mic, thanking everyone for throwing this surprise party. She then starts singing worse than Taylor Swift, and they all regret coming there. Afterward, Takuya walks Rika home, but she can't even stand straight and stumbles into his arms, which embarrasses her so much that she rushes home alone. Seeing her go, Takuya realizes he let her carry all the weight when he should have helped her, and this makes him feel pathetic. The next day, Rika heads to a solo date at the theme park to create a fake story of how they started dating. However, Takuya surprises her by showing up and saying that he'll help her too, which makes her feel warm in her heart. Later, as they ride the Ferris wheel, Rika says she got her hands on matching rings, which will make their story more convincing. Seeing the rings makes Takuya's heart race, but Rika casually puts hers on and asks him to propose to her, so she can write it in her journal. At first, Bro starts to sweat, but then he gathers his balls and decides to propose to her. Even when the words appear in his head, he is unable to say them as he worries that things will change between them. He then apologizes and asks for more time, and Rika tells him to take it easy. She adds that she'll wait for as long as it takes for him to come up with a proposal, and this makes Takuya blush. The next day, Takuya notices that his cat, Tama, is playing with the shirt he wore yesterday, making him wonder if she's attracted to Rika's scent. Bro still hasn't put on the ring she gave him and hasn't even thought of a proposal, which makes him feel like a wussy. To get rid of this feeling, he decides to just put the ring on, but no matter how much he tries, he can't do it. Meanwhile, Rika heads to the beach far away from her place and actually loves the experience. However, when she sees a real couple behind her, she suddenly gets self-conscious as she's been having so much fun lately, which is very uncharacteristic of her. As she takes in everything that has happened lately, she gets a text from an old acquaintance who wants to meet her. Since she's already exhausted, she breathes in fresh air to recharge her social battery before replying that she's out of the city. Meanwhile, Takuya is at home, Thinking about his interaction with Rika on the Ferris wheel, gathering all his courage, he tries to put the ring on again and surprises himself when he actually does it. Afterward, he stands in front of the mirror, acting like he topped Mount Everest, and vows to become a good fake husband for Rika. Just then, he gets a call from a random number on his phone, and once he picks it up, someone in a robotic voice says that they know his marriage to Rika is fake. After threatening to send both of them to Alaska, the person hangs up the phone, and Takuya immediately goes running to Rika like a little puppy. Now worried, Rika suspects that the call must have been made by someone who works in their company. Just then, their ugly sloth co-worker named Gonda appears and creepily asks Takuya if he can come over tonight. Both Takuya and Rika start to get sus, but they have to pretend to be a couple and let him come over to not blow their cover. That evening, Takuya heads home and bribes Tama with treats, so she behaves when Gonda and Rika come over. Soon after, Rika arrives with a bag full of supplies that will make his apartment look more like a couple's place. She then hands him a list of things and tells him to arrange them however he sees fit. After that, they go over some things like what their favorite food is, or where they plan to go for their honeymoon. Additionally, they recreate viral couple pictures to make it more believable. And once they are done, Takuya says it feels like the day before a cultural festival. Rika adds that she would often play as a tree in stage plays, and Takuya says he also did similar roles which required minimal effort. Just then, the bell rings, and they open the door to see Gonda, along with two more co-workers, Itsuki and Kamiya. Despite being shocked, they bring him in for drinks, and as everyone chugs down the glasses, Takuya asks Gonda what he wanted to discuss today. Immediately, the fatty begs Takuya to teach him how to get a sloppy toppy from a goth baddie, which shocks Takuya. Itsuki adds that Gonda is on every dating site ever, yet he's never been swiped right once. Kamiya then asks him how long he's been with Rika, and he says since rookie training. Just then, Rika brings snacks for everyone, and seeing her smile shocks them. As they get drunk, Takuya suddenly realizes how much his life has changed ever since everyone learned about his marriage. He believes he's still the same person, and marriage isn't that great to begin with, but his co-workers are so drunk that they don't even register what he just said. Soon after, Itsuki and Komiya head home, while Gonda stays behind and admits that he has a crush on Komiya. He asks Takuya to help him get laid, and after he leaves, Takuya is relieved that Gonda wasn't the one who threatened him on the phone. As he returns to his place, Rika is still there, and she vows never to play host again, as it's too exhausting for her. As they clean up, she says she also does not understand why everyone is treating them differently just because they said they're getting married. Takuya believes it's because they also want to get married to someone they love, but Rika believes that she will never find true love or get married, even in the future. While doing the dishes, Takuya assures her that she can still find happiness without getting married, as he finds himself the happiest when he's playing with Tama. Rika then tells him that she loves looking at maps, and when he asks more about it, she gets excited and starts yapping. Takuya says she looks pretty happy right now, and this makes her shy away. She then decides to head home, and on the way, she notes that her heart feels heavy as she's not used to living around a man. At the same time, Takuya finds himself admiring Rika, until they both realize that this is just an act and they should stay vigilant. A few days later, as Rika finishes up a new report, she notices that the hype around their engagement has dialed down, but she is still worried about that strange phone call Takuya got. Just then, a customer walks into the office, and since Rika is bad at dealing with people, she drains all her battery while guiding him. When she notices that all the tables are occupied, she decides to help him. The man introduces himself as Ohara and reveals that he is Takuya's father, and he's come here to know more about the girl he's engaged with. Despite being caught off guard, Rika keeps his composure and says she doesn't know anything about it, so the man asks Rika to keep his visit a secret. He then hands her a desk calendar from his company as a gift and dashes out, after which, Rika heads to Takuya's desk and sees that he's not there. She feels bad about lying to the old man, especially when she sees that his company is in a different city, so he must have traveled for hours. Thus, she leaves the calendar on her desk and runs after Ohara to tell him the truth. However, when she spots him outside, she is unable to get a word out and takes him to a nearby cafe. There, the old man shows signs of frustration because Takuya decided to marry without even telling him. He starts yapping about the customs and cultural aspects of weddings in the Aso region, along with a long list of guests who will be invited. All of this overwhelms Rika, just as Takuya returns to his desk and sees a text from Rika, telling him that she's with his father. Within seconds, Bro arrives at the cafe, and Rika takes him outside, where she explains the whole situation to him. Takuya decides to tell him that the rumors are fake and tells her to wait outside, but when he heads inside, she joins him as she doesn't want to put all the burden on him. Ohara then apologizes for his earlier rant, adding that all the customs of weddings have died down in Aso, as most young ones have left for big cities. Rika adds that Aso sounds like a special place, and she knows much about it thanks to the atlas she's been studying. When she mentions the train tracks, Ohara starts yapping out about when he used to take his family to the tracks, and they'd get happy seeing the train. He also reveals that Takuya used to catch frogs in the rice fields, which Rika finds rather cute, as she never expected him to have a quirky side. Ohara says he was born in Aso and wants to protect it, but Takuya seems to be indifferent to it. The old man then says he heard men in his office talking about Takuya's engagement, and it shocks them both as word has spread quite far. Ohara also heard Rika's name, but before he can recall it, Takuya slams the table to distract him, and then promises to come to Aso this weekend so they can talk about the wedding. After that, Ohara takes his leave, and when Rika asks what Takuya plans to do, Takuya says he'll tell them the truth and hope they keep it to themselves. Later at work, Asako asks him if he can be an attendant to the Leechboard Princess Claudia, who wants a tour of Tokyo, but Takuya asks why she's not referring others. Asako then explains that the princess is a hoe, which is why she only requests male attendants. The other two guys at the firm will simply try to take advantage of her, and this leaves them with Takuya, who can't work a chick if she comes with a manual. Soon after, word spreads in the office, and everyone starts to worry about Takuya, as one wrong step might get him fired. Meanwhile, Takuya does his homework regarding Claudia, but since he's not been an attendant for years, he feels nervous. On top of that, the whole fake marriage and his upcoming trip to Aso weigh heavily on his shoulders. When Rika sees this, she thinks of helping him, but then realizes she might come off as rude and walks away. Later, he heads to the hotel to meet Claudia and finds the place heavily guarded. Just then, a girl cosplaying Sabrina Carpenter appears before him and casually introduces herself as Claudia. This shocks Takuya because he expected her to be behind the guard post, but what shocks him more is her horrible Japanese. Luckily, Takuya had paid attention in his English classes, so they agreed to converse in English. She then asks him to take her on a tour, but when he suggests they bring security, Claudia says no, as she wants to have a normal experience for today. Understanding what she means, Takuya asks if she has a specific request, and she says she wants to see something fabulous. Immediately, Takuya drives her to a cat shrine, and she falls in love with the place. Luckily, Takuya had checked her socials to see that she's a cat person, which made it easy for him to pick this place. Just then, Asako calls him and scolds him because the princess is not at her hotel, but he assures her that Claudia is with him. After that, he takes him to several fun spots, and Claudia enjoys every single one of them. She then expects Takuya to end the tour on a high note, and Takuya knows just the spot. He takes her to a school rooftop, exclusive only to Japanese schools, because he knows she grew up watching anime like you gooners. Not only that, but he has also prepared a school uniform for Claudia, which excites her even more. Back at the office, his coworkers wonder where Takuya and Claudia are until it's key hints they must have found a room to smash. Rika hears this and feels jealous, so she doesn't understand why, as she and Takuya are only pretending to be a couple. Back in school, Takuya suggests they head back now, and Claudia feels bummed out as such a fun day is already over. She wants to visit one last place before they part ways, and it's none other than the infamous Pound Town. Soon after, Rika walks to Takuya's apartment to leave a package, but when she gets to the front door, she sees the lights on. She peeks from the window and sees Claudia inside, and this makes her wonder if Takuya is really getting his sausage tasted tonight. When she's almost caught peeping, she hides under the window and decides to leave, as it's none of her business. But curiosity gets the best of her as she really wants to know why Takuya brought Claudia to his apartment. Just as she goes inside, Claudia is suddenly attacked by Tama and falls on top of Takuya. Rika sees this and tells him to stop bringing hoes here, only to learn that Takuya has left several texts that she didn't see. Turns out, Claudia wanted to meet Rika and thought Takuya's apartment would be the best place to hang out. Hearing this, Rika feels embarrassed as she thought they were smashing, when in reality, Takuya had told Claudia from the start that he was engaged. Claudia then says she is thinking of leaving the royal family and settling in with someone who loves her. When Takuya reminds her that she's married, she reveals that she actually swings the other way and only married that man for family reasons. However, now she wants a genuine marriage built out of love, just like the two of them. She also reveals that she spends most of her time with men because she doesn't want to make her female lover jealous, but people believe she's a hoe who loves getting cracked, which frustrates her. She then thanks Takuya for showing her what real love looks like, and after she leaves, the duo decides not to tell her the truth about their engagement. Rika then apologizes for what she did, but Takuya has no idea what she's saying and asks why she came over even though she never checked her phone. At this, she shyly reveals a package from her bag, and it turns out to be a frog-shaped rock. Earlier, Ohara told her that Takuya liked frogs, and since collecting stones is her hobby, she wanted to give this rock to Takuya. However, she is so embarrassed by what she did that she can't face Takuya, so she runs off home while Takuya stands there smiling like an idiot, finding her reactions cute. Later, as Takuya channels his inner Ichigo to groom his cat Tama, he gets texts from his sister, who wants to know more about the girl he is supposedly engaged to. He chooses not to answer her texts, as he's going to Aso on the weekend to tell everyone that his marriage is a total scam. He then sees the rock Rika gave him and recalls Claudia saying the two of them are like a dream couple. This makes him nervous as he's lied to so many people, and he also feels guilty for feeling so good about receiving a gift from Rika. He then wonders why she came all the way to his apartment and remembers that she asked him not to bring other women here. He assumes she scolded him for not sticking properly to the fake marriage plan, not realizing that she simply missed him. The next day in the office, he walks to his desk and notices that Rika is avoiding eye contact with him. He believes she's upset, when in reality, she's still embarrassed about the whole thing and can't face him. As Takuya gets busy with Ganda, she nervously looks over and wonders if he'll visit Aso this week or not. She is so nervous to ask him, until Ganda loudly asks him if he's visiting his hometown this weekend. Immediately, the whole office starts thinking Rika is going to meet Takuya's parents, while Rika is confused as to how Ganda knows because she never told anyone. She wonders how to respond to the co-workers, but she also doesn't want to say anything stupid because she doesn't know what Takuya has planned. Luckily, Takuya confronts everyone, saying he's going back alone to take care of some stuff. After everyone goes back to work, he quietly tells Rika that he will stick to the plan, which makes her blush. Just then, she gets a call from an unknown number, and once she picks up, the person on the other side uses a robotic voice to ask her why she isn't going with Takuya. Rika asks who's speaking, but they say they're always watching before hanging up the phone, leaving them both anxious. The next day, Takuya leaves Tama with a vet, and she's clearly thrilled to spend time behind bars. The lady there asks Takuya where he's headed, and he says he's going to visit his family. He was planning to go alone, but thanks to that call, Rika had to tag along with him. Now, he plans to tell his parents the whole truth and have them keep the secret. They'll then spend a night at a hotel and return to Tokyo the next day to avoid suspicion. However, he will also have to pay for Rika's ticket and hotel expenses, which makes him visibly sad. Seeing this, the vet starts cheering him on like an idiot to make him feel better, prompting him to just walk out of the clinic. Meanwhile, Rika is relieved that she's going with Takuya because this gives her a chance to apologize to Ohara for lying. However, she still doesn't have any idea what to say or what to wear, taking her back to her childhood when she'd struggled to pick clothes for herself. Her mom encouraged her to have some confidence in her pick, so he takes her advice to heart and picks her best outfit. Later, she meets Takuya at the airport, and Bro's little soldier immediately gives a salute as Rika looks absolutely gorgeous. Soon after, they're on the flight, and Takuya still can't get over how pretty she looks. When she catches him staring, he quickly looks away, which makes her think her outfit is weird. To break the ice, Takuya asks if she's ever been to Kumamoto, and she says many times. When he asks if those were family vacations, she gives a weird reaction, which confuses him. As Takuya wonders if he said something rude, she suddenly asks him if he'd like to hear more about her family. She feels obliged as she knows a lot about him, but he doesn't know anything about her. But Bro says there's no pressure from his side. Rika believes it's best if he knows since they're pretending to be engaged, so Takuya agrees to hear her yap. He asks her what her childhood was like, and she reveals that her dad left to buy milk and never returned. She and her mom lived alone, but even she had to go on business trips often, so Rika was often alone at home. She spent most of her time looking at maps and figuring out how she would get to certain places. She also imagined herself being in those places, and that not only made her happy but also made her feel closer to her mother. Suddenly, she starts feeling self-conscious about her story, but Takuya asks her to relax as he finds it cute. Soon after, they get off the plane and Takuya immediately runs into a two-footed hag who turns out to be his grandma. She is delighted to see him after so long, and when he asks why she's here, she says she came to deliver melons to the airport. She then decides to drive them home, and on the way, she asks Takuya who the girl is. As Rika shyly introduces herself, the old hag suddenly clocks that this cutie must be Takuya's soon-to-be wife. Immediately, Rika tells her that it's a lie and apologizes for the trouble caused, but the grandma takes it lightly and drives them to her place. There, she asks them to grab some melons for themselves, adding that she can't pack all of them as her husband has a sprained back. Takuya decides to help pack, while Rika goes after Grandma to ask how she can make herself useful. She decides to teach Rika how to snip on melons, but before that, she gives her a change of clothes. After snipping one, Rika stops for a while to admire the view until she realizes it's no time to be captivated by nature. She then returns to Grandma, who asks her to test her melons. While she eats them, Grandma tells her how busy her fields used to be, but now she's old and can't work as much. Then suddenly, she tells Rika that they shouldn't lie about their engagement being fake, as she can tell from experience that Rika likes Takuya. Rika assures her they're really not getting married, but the old hag ignores that and asks Rika to always take care of her grandson. This makes Rika blush really hard, so much that she passes out from heat stroke. Immediately, Takuya arrives on the scene and carries her back inside, only for Ohara to show up uninvited. Immediately, the old man helps him take Rika inside, and Rika gains a little bit of consciousness, enough to notice that she's been carried. Once inside, Ohara keeps complaining to Takuya for getting married without telling them, and Bro tries his best to hold it in. However, when his dad keeps yapping, he blurts out that he is not getting married, which makes Ohara upset. This leads to an argument between the father and son until Grandma scolds them, and they finally put Rika on a futon. Later, as the doctor inspects Rika, he reveals that she did not have heat stroke and she's just extremely tired. After the doctor leaves, Takuya promises his dad that he'll make it up to everyone, but the man tells him to stop living like a side character. Just then, Grandma apologizes as she made Rika snip melons, and they both forget about their beef to comfort her. At night, Takuya visits his family to break the news that he is not getting married, and surprisingly, they all take it rather lightly. After dinner, Takuya's mom tells him not to worry about his dad, as she'll put him on track with a sloppy toppy. With that, Takuya heads back to his grandma's house while his father watches him go from his bedroom window. Upon returning, he learns from his grandma that Rika is still asleep, so he decides to rest for the night. However, as he steps into the guest room, he is shocked to find Rika sleeping there as well. As he nervously tries to move his futon out, Rika suddenly wakes up and is confused about where she is. She even gets startled upon seeing Takuya in the same room, and after he tells her she passed out, she asks him if he's visited his family already. Takuya tells her he went there and apologized, which makes her feel bad because she wanted to apologize to them as well. Just then, they hear some frogs outside, and Rika asks him if they can go outside for a bit. As soon as they step out, a frog jumps on Rika's head, which makes her freak out. She is about to fall flat on her cakes, but Takuya holds her from the back, which makes her blush. He then captures a frog for her, but Rika is still focused on how he stopped her from falling. She shyly asks if he was also the one who carried her into the guest room, and when he says yes, she apologizes for causing him trouble. She then says she was super invested in snipping melons and didn't realize how tired she was, admitting that she's never gone on trips like these before, and she actually had fun. When she starts to feel guilty, he reminds her of the frog-shaped stone she gave him, saying he's placed it on his table and that he's never received such a gift before. Whenever he looks at it, it makes him think of Rika, which makes her blush. At that moment, Rika feels a warm feeling in her heart and wonders if this is what marriage is supposed to be like. Takuya also feels the same thing and is about to say something, only to be interrupted by the loud croaking of the frogs. The next day, Rika is blushing all by herself as she's still thinking about the things Takuya said, also wondering what he was about to say before he got interrupted. She tells herself that it's not a big deal, and she shouldn't get stuck on it. She then runs into Grandma, who tells her that the breakfast is ready. Thus, Rika heads to the bathroom, where she meets Takuya, who apologizes for the mess yesterday. He then asks how she's feeling, but she is so infatuated by him that she can't even look him in the face. Hiding her face behind the towel, she tells him she's fine and needs more time to be ready. So Takuya apologizes and heads out. A few hours later, they decide to head to Takuya's home because Rika wants to apologize to them as well. While walking, Rika notices Takuya's fluffy hair and wonders how it would feel to run her hands through it. Shocked by her own intuition, she starts walking ahead of Takuya to shake off the thoughts, but he tells her they have to go right, which makes her feel embarrassed. Soon after, they reach Takuya's home, where Rika personally apologizes for the confusion she caused. Since his family already knows about the transfer to Alaska, they actually support their fake marriage plan to avoid going overseas. Rika then asks to meet Ohara so she could apologize to him as well, only to learn that the old man went out to work and won't return until late at night. They suggest that Rika go out with Takuya and explore the place, so Rika enthusiastically says that she wants to see the volcano museum. Minutes later, Takuya is driving her to said place, and Rika feels embarrassed about how she acted. She also admits that she's been meaning to see the place for a while, and Takuya says he hasn't been there for years either. As he's talking, she gets infatuated with his fluffy hair and wishes she could play with it. She then looks out the window and sees many rice fields, and it makes her feel like she's part of a certain show that visits different towns in Japan. Soon after, they reach the museum, and the excitement is visible on Rika's face. Heading inside, they explore different sections and even watch a documentary about the volcano, which makes her feel really happy. In the end, they head to a balcony where they get a full view of the mountains, and Takuya is shocked to learn that Rika is more educated on the place than him. Just then, they notice some brats from a school trip running around, and one of them bumps into Rika, making her fall into Takuya's arms. Their teacher is having a hard time making them behave, so Takuya decides to show them why they call him Japanese Diddy. After he calms the brats down, Rika tells them a story of a god who descended on the Aso Mountains. Takuya then ends it with a dad joke, which makes everyone laugh. After showing the brats around, They drive back home, and Takuya says his sister will drop them off at the airport. He then apologizes for the hectic trip, but Rika says it's fine because she's solely focused on Takuya's fluffy hair. When their eyes meet, she starts blushing and realizes that she's experienced a lot of things on this short trip. Upon arriving home, Takuya leaves the car to inform his sister, only to run into a hottie named Nao, who happens to be his childhood friend. Both of them are shocked to see the other, and Takuya's mother comes out to reveal that Nao has become an expert glassmaker. Rika also steps out of the car, so Takuya decides to introduce her to Nao. When Nao greets her formally, Takuya starts teasing her, so Nao starts pulling his hair, prompting him to do the same to her. Seeing them fool around makes Rika realize that whatever she was imagining will never come to reality. Just then, Nao tells her that she's coming to Tokyo for work and wants to be her friend, leaving her surprised. Later, Takuya returns home and gives special treats to his cat Tama to make it up to her for leaving. He then mentions that Rika was very distant on the way back, which surprised him because he thought they'd get along better after that trip. Everything was going well until that point, and it makes him wonder if he did something to upset Rika. He's also glad he never got to say his piece, thinking she would have disliked him even more had he told her what he was feeling. Meanwhile, Rika is watching that traveling show she likes, but her mind is occupied by what Takuya was about to say. She also feels slightly jealous that she never got to ruffle through Takuya's hair, and being carried away like this makes her feel embarrassed. Thinking it's one-sided, she decides to switch off, which is something she learned very early on. The next day at work, Asako informs the team about the summer fair and encourages them to sell more domestic tickets. One of the workers, Shinshi, even starts doing his anti-cancellation chants, hoping that no one cancels their orders, as it's the biggest letdown for the firm. Asako agrees with him, so she encourages everyone to join the chant. Just then, Takuya arrives and wonders if they all developed the big R while he was gone. During lunch, Shinshi opens his well-made lunchbox, courtesy of his lovely housewife, which makes Gonda jealous as he also wants a wife. Later, he meets Takuya for drinks and rants about not having a waifu. Takuya wants to go home to Tama, but Gonda begs him to stay and advise him on how he can riz Komiya. He notes that Komiya never looks at him, and he's heard women look at the face of the guy they like. This immediately makes Takuya self-conscious, so he goes home and sadly tells Tama that Rika didn't look at him even once today. He wonders if he did something to upset Rika, adding that Tama only looks at him when she wants something. The next day, Takuya returns to a chaotic work environment as Shinshi is missing, and all the groups he's been handling are complaining. Seeing Rika struggling as well, he asks if she's okay, and she diverts her eyes while saying she's fine. This makes him question if she dislikes him now, as things were much better before they went to Aso. Just then, a young boy named Hideo enters the office, announcing himself as Shinshi's son and asking if anyone has seen his father. Komiya approaches the boy and politely says they have not seen Shinshi, asking him when he last saw his dad. Hideo reveals that his parents fought, and his mom said she wanted a divorce, and his dad has been missing since. As everyone goes into panic, a senior employee named George asks them not to worry about the boy, and then asks Takuya to help find Shinshi. Takuya asks why he picked him, and George says it's because he's young and kind. He even offers to take on Takuya's workload and asks everyone to get back to work. Soon after, Takuya and Hideo go around looking for Shinshi, and he can't believe Shinshi is getting divorced, even though he looks so happy. Just then, Hideo reveals he's compiled a book of all the business cards they could find, so they go to all the places one by one, but still don't find Shinshi. When Hideo starts to get worried, Takuya takes him to a food joint, but he doesn't know how to cheer him up. Hideo believes his dad left to get milk and won't return, so he starts crying while saying that he wants things to go back to normal. Takuya tries to comfort the boy, but he still doesn't know what to do, as he doesn't know the first thing about marriage. Later, he calls Asako to inform her that they still haven't found Shinshi, so George takes the phone and suggests that he check the Hachiman Shrine in Fukagawa. Heading there, Takuya spots a depressing bar, only to be joined by Gonda, Itsuki, and Komiya. Takuya asks Komiya to stay with Hideo, and the boys step inside to find Shinshi looking all gloomy. Apparently, he's lost his mind because he's using an eraser to erase the divorce papers his wife gave him, which makes them all anxious. When the eraser breaks, Shinshi loses his mind and runs out of the bar, not realizing that his son is also there. George and Asako also join them, and they decide to split up and look for him while Komiya runs after Hideo. Soon after, the boys find Shinshi in a tree acting like a gorilla, but no matter how hard they try, they can't seem to catch him. Meanwhile, Hideo is still running when Rika arrives and stops him, so he starts crying in her arms. This reminds her of her own childhood when his parents separated, so she asks the boy to keep it together as his dad will return soon. Just then, Shinshi leaps at George like a monkey, but the old man knocks him out with a punch and tells him to go home. Shinshi starts crying, saying he doesn't want to, also adding that he would have never married if he had known how hard it was. After that, they walk him back until he runs into Hideo, who immediately runs to his arms and starts to cry. Turns out, Shinji had brought his wife a present for their anniversary, but he never expected her to hand him the divorce papers, as they had never fought before. This really took him by shock, so much so that he evolved backwards to his monkey ancestors. A few days later, Asako announces an inter-branch display contest, encouraging everyone to do their best to win. However, she notices that the mood is quite gloomy as no one has recovered from what happened with Shinji. The man has taken a couple of days off work to focus on his family, and while everyone wonders what went wrong, George believes Shinji was too focused on his own happiness to see what his wife was going through. Hearing this, everyone claims it's better not to get married at all, except for Gonda, who wants to sniff Komiya's armpits. Itsuki tells Takuya to be vigilant as well, not knowing that he is anxious too, because Shinji is always so kind and respectable. Just then, he walks to the storage room to see Rika carrying a heavy box and rushes to help her. He notices that she's acting distant again, so he asks her what they're carrying to break the ice. She says it's a canoe she made for the display contest, and as they carry it out, she wishes that Shinji and his wife would fix things for the sake of their son. Takuya worries that whatever he says will make things worse, so he decides not to respond. Unbeknownst to him, Rika is going through the same dilemma, and her only solution is to switch off. Just then, she hears someone calling to her, and when she turns around, she finds Nao, who looks anxious and wants her help with something. Turns out, she moved to Tokyo just today, but she cannot find her apartment. Rika asks her for the address, and once Nao shows her, she's shocked to learn that her apartment is in the building next to where Rika lives. Once there, Nao thanks her for the help and even gives her a business card of her studio so she can visit any time she wants. The next day at work, Rika wonders if she should tell Takuya about her encounter with Nao, but she assumes he'd already know since he and Nao are close. That evening, on her way home, Rika looks at Nao's business card and decides to pay her a visit. Arriving at the workshop, she peeks inside and finds Nao working with the furnace and expertly turning glass into a mug. Even though Rika is shocked by her skill, Nao's teacher tells her it's not good enough, which shocks her. Just as Rika is about to leave, Nao spots her and calls her out, asking why she's leaving without saying hi. Rika responds that she didn't want to disturb her, but Nao says it's totally fine and even invites her to a drinking party later on. While Rika gets nervous, Nao suggests they hang out at her place, but this makes Rika even more anxious as she's never had friends over. However, after Nao begs her to let her come over, Rika agrees on the condition that she lets her clean the apartment first. Later that night, Nao comes over with a bunch of root beer, and Rika is impressed by her energy levels. Nao is extra happy to have run into a familiar face on her first day, and after showing him dozens of beers, she brings out the glasses she made specifically for drinking. As Rika notices the green and blue colors in it, Nao reveals it's a blend from stones she picked at Aso. When Nao was young, she used to spend her days playing in the mountains and rivers, and she even had her own spot by the waterfall where she would spend lots of time. There, she would get mesmerized by the sound of water, birds, wind, and the swaying of leaves, so she took stones from that place and put them in her glass to relive her childhood. Rika tells her she's amazing, but Nao believes she still has a long way to go as her teacher is never satisfied with her work. For a moment, she feels down, but she springs back up with energy the next second with a frickin' weeball attitude. She then asks Rika if there's anything that frustrates her, and Rika tells her that a map she bought yesterday had a bad corner. On top of that, the bookstore doesn't have many maps to begin with, which is quite annoying. As she chugs down a can of beer, she also complains that her favorite travel show got cancelled due to a scandal involving a cast member. She then keeps chugging on more beers, and continues complaining about the little things that bother her. Nao then shifts the topic to Takuya, mentioning that his family told her that the marriage wasn't real. She then asks Rika if there's really nothing between them, and Rika angrily slams the table, saying she is confused about what Takuya wants. She then puts her head down, saying that Takuya says suggestive things to her, even though he's already pretty close to another girl. This confuses her as she's never been close to anyone, so she decides to ask Nao if she and Takuya are breaking beds. However, she stops midway as she realizes that her question is very forward and suggestive. In the end, she asks Nao if Takuya has always been so vague, and Nao says no. She then tells her that she met Takuya at her spot near the waterfall, and they instantly clicked. Before they knew it, it was nighttime, and Nao started crying as she didn't know the way home. That's when Takuya caught a firefly and showed it to her to cheer her on. After that, he took her hand, walked her home, and even asked her parents not to scold her. Rika says she can't imagine Takuya acting that way today, so Nao, now fully drunk, decides to call him and clear the confusion between him and Rika. When Takuya picks up, she tells him she's at Rika's place, and he should bring his sorry bum here right now, as Rika has a bone to pick with her. Before Rika can say anything, she ends the call and passes out, leaving Rika in panic. However, Rika submits to fate and chugs down another beer as she waits for Takuya. Soon after, he rings her bell, and as she opens the door, Takuya immediately realizes she is drunk. Once inside, he He tries to wake Na up, but Rika sternly tells him to let her be and then asks him what he was going to say to her that night in Aso. At first, Takuya struggles to remember, but after she forces him to use his rusty brain, he says he was just glad that they got to take a walk together. Hearing this, she chugs down another beer and calls herself a fool for imagining all sorts of things, and Takuya asks if she's upset with him because of that. When she confirms it, he apologizes for being bad at communication and adds that he was always eager to grow up, but now that he is an adult, he understands the world even less. Rika says she is also bad with words, and she even struggles to understand humans, mainly because of what happened between her parents. That's why she's turned off her own feelings so she doesn't let anyone down, and yet, she can't seem to stop thinking about Takuya. Now annoyed, she accuses him of playing with her heart and asks him to clearly state what he wants. So Takuya takes a second before saying that he wants to go out with her. It takes a few seconds for her to register what just happened, and Takuya also starts freaking out as he worries she'll hate him now. Rika freezes as she fails to understand why he wants her, even though she's really bad at love stuff. As she wonders how to respond, Takuya believes her silence means rejection and begs the plot gods to wake up her voice actor. In the end, she's unable to say anything, so Takuya drags Nao out and leaves, believing that he really blew his chances with Rika. The next day, Rika wakes up to her alarm and immediately remembers the last night when Takuya proposed to her. Despite being sober, it feels like a vivid dream to her, so she decides to brush it off for now and get ready for work. However, she soon discovers that her entire body is sore, but she fights through the pain and makes it to work. There, she sees that Takuya is taking a day off, which puts her at ease. Just then, a blonde guy walks into the office, and everyone is shocked to see that it's Shinchi. Rika is indifferent to him because she's solely focused on Takuya, wondering if she should call him. Unbeknownst to her, Takuya is so depressed that he doesn't even want to get out of bed, wishing that he could go back in time and stop his past self from embarrassment. However, he suddenly concludes that Rika is a shy person and she must have been thinking of an answer, only to realize how ridiculous that sounds. Just then, his bell rings, and he imagines it must be Rika who's come to say sorry. In reality, it turns out to be the fatso Ganda who needed some advice on something. Takuya sternly tells him that office romance is a terrible idea, but Ganda says he's come to tell him about Tinder instead. Apparently, Ganda has browsed the entire catalog and is now an expert at how to read a woman's heart, which surprises Takuya. To prove his point, Ganda invites Takuya to come along as he's meeting his Tinder date today. He also admits that he's insecure about his looks because he's built like a potato, so Takuya agrees to come along. Soon after, they wait at a restaurant for Ganda's date while he yaps about how much money he spent on Tinder. Takuya is confused because Ganda was after Komiya, but Ganda believes she'll never let him hit because not only is he fat and ugly, but also a broke boy. Takuya then asks why he brought him along, so Ganda tells him that he got swiped left by everyone until he decided to seek women out of his league. He got a few matches, but all of those girls were either freaky or had daddy issues, so he lost all his confidence. Today, he's matched with a girl who's a fan of an idol, and since Ganda is a fan of her too, they decided to have an offline fan meetup. However, since this girl is older than Ganda, he wants Takuya to be his bodyguard in case the shawty tries to kidnap his fat bum. Later, as Takuya watches from a distance, it hits him that he is also the same as Ganda, and no one would want to marry him. Just then, Ganda's supposed date, Kaori, shows up, and they start dancing like idiots. Afterward, she takes off her mask to reveal a cute face, and Ganda is surprised because she looks very different from her profile picture. She says she purposely hid her face there because of creeps, but she can be much more relaxed in person. After that, they walk into the mall, and Takuya, knowing that his work is done, decides to leave. For the next few hours, Ganda and Kaori explore the mall and obsess over their favorite idol, and before they realize it, it's already nighttime. She has to leave, which makes Ganda sad. But when she says she'll call him later, Bro gets super excited about it. She even pays him for the stuff they got during the day and waves him goodbye with a smile, which makes Ganda feel warm in the heart. That night, after watching her favorite idol show, Ganda calls Kaori and spends hours talking to her. The next day, Takuya arrives at work to find Rika taking a day off. He also notices that Ganda looks quite happy, until the fatso declares that he is going to marry Kaori. That night, he takes Takuya out for drinks and asks him for advice on how to propose. Having rushed into his own proposal, Takuya thinks it's a bad idea and asks him why he wants to get married so badly, especially when most people around them prefer a single life. In response, Ganda starts yapping about his father being a problematic guy who'd always fight his mother over money, and all he had was his older brother for comfort. Since he never had a comforting home, he's grown to crave a proper home and a loving family, and that's the reason why he's so eager to get married. He believes Kaori is the perfect girl for him. but he also feels insecure about having such dreams because he looks like a giant drumstick. Despite this, Takuya tells him to shoot his shot and offers his full support, which gives him the confidence he needs. That same night, Ganda calls Kaori and asks her to meet him urgently. Once they meet, Ganda directly tells her that he wants to date her and get married, and she suddenly becomes expressionless, which makes him nervous. She then asks him to come with her, and as they take a bus to God knows where, she keeps her head down, which makes Ganda worry even more. Eventually, she takes him to a daycare where she works, asking him if he's really sure about being a father and working at the same time, as she's already a single mother. Upon the realization, Ganda freezes on the spot, so Kaori tells him not to force himself and walks away. Later, Ganda meets with Takuya and admits that he does not mind her being a single mother, and he just panicked in that moment. After that, he decides to talk to Kaori again, but at work, he realizes that he does not make enough money to support a family. Even then, he texts Kaori to meet him at a restaurant, because he wants to talk to her one more time. However, Kaori sends her friend Ichika instead because she couldn't come today, and she brings a message from Kaori saying, "Don't worry about it." Ganda asks her if Kaori doesn't like him anymore, but Ichika says she cannot tell, though it would be impossible for him to support Kaori and her boy. Later, he meets Takuya again and says he'll stop pursuing marriage and family as he isn't ready. He then starts to cry because Kaori had faith in him, and he flinched at the worst moment, which must have broken Kaori's heart. Takuya just stands there, admiring how strong-willed Ganda is because, unlike him, he never had the balls to confront Rika or cry for her. Meanwhile, Kaori is at the daycare, looking at a picture she took with Ganda. She thinks of deleting it since it's over between them, but she can't bring herself to press the button. The following evening, Rika anxiously holds her phone with Takuya's contact open. She can't bring herself to call him, knowing all too well that the more time passes, the worse it will get for her. As she wonders what to do, she sees Nao running towards her, and she immediately apologizes for passing out in her home the other day. Rika asks if she remembers what happened that day, and Nao says she only remembers the first 3 drinks. She then notices that Rika is preoccupied with her thoughts, so to cheer her on, Nao suggests she tries her hand at glassmaking. The following day, Rika arrives at her workshop, nervous as she's never done this before. Nao eagerly greets her, promising to help her, and even introduces her to the teacher Hoshi. After showing her some of the stuff she's made, Hoshi decides to skedaddle, so Nao heats the glass and asks Rika to blow in it. Once she does, the glass gets into a good shape, but it's so exhausting for her that she has to drink water after one blow. After that, Nao shows her how to make the base, and surprisingly, Rika follows the instructions pretty well. Later, Hoshi returns and offers her a bottle of water, and Rika watches in awe as Nao adds the finishing touches to the glass. Rika admits to herself that even though she was frazzled the whole time, being so invested in something made her feel much better. She also realizes shutting down and investing in some activity are not the same thing. She would shut off in the past so she wouldn't worry her mother, but because of that, she has wound up as someone who can't decide anything by herself. She also remembers her mother telling her to live as she sees fit, but she believes it's impossible for someone like her. Lost in her thought, Rika is about to pass out, but Nao's voice brings her back, as she's just finished the final touches on the glass. Even though it turns out lopsided, Nao and Hoshi believe it's really good for a first-timer, and Rika should just make what she likes, which makes her happy. As she leaves the workshop, Nao promises to deliver it to her once it cools down. While walking home, Rika gets a text from someone she knows, who has come to Tokyo and wants to see her. Since she's already seen the message, she plans to meet them on the weekend. On Sunday, she puts on her best dress and practices breathing exercises to calm herself down before heading out. Later, as she nervously waits at the restaurant, her mom shows up to meet her and immediately starts talking about her work. Before Rika can get in a word, her mom pulls out a jacket she bought for her and forces her to try it on. Rika is already overwhelmed, and even though she wanted her advice on the Takuya matter, she chooses not to. Her mom then asks her about work and life, and she tells her everything is going well. When she advises Rika to choose a field with better pay and less stress, Rika says she likes where she is right now, which makes her mom beam with joy. She fully approves of Rika's decision, as it's her life, and even advises her to set goals for herself. Rika is happy to see her like this, and she's amazed at how much energy she has despite everything. As she gets up to take pictures, Rika notices that her mother always knows what to do, unlike her, who is running on autopilot. She feels bad about herself, as unlike her mom, she has no big ambitions, and she's just happy looking at maps. Then suddenly, her mom asks her when she's going to get married, but Rika believes it won't happen in a million years. Her mom thought Rika would already have someone she likes, but she blames herself too, as she had a failed marriage as well, which rubbed off on Rika. She strongly advises Rika not to mess up her choice of partner like her, which freaks Rika out, but then she brushes it off, asking Rika to introduce her to the man if she finds one. Unbeknownst to her, Takuya is calling her at the moment, and he thinks she isn't picking up because she hates him. He also notes that he and Rika haven't seen each other in the office lately, and she must have taken days off to avoid him. As he wonders if he should call Rika again, his phone rings, and it's Tama's doctor who wants to do a checkup on the cat. Meanwhile, as Rika parts ways with her mom, she tells her she can do anything she wants to. After she drives off, Rika takes a sigh of relief, not knowing that her mom visited her because she had heard a rumor that she was getting married. Soon after, Rika checks her phone and is shocked to see that Takuya called her multiple times. Remembering the last time she missed his text, she decides to call him back so she doesn't embarrass herself again. However, she does not know what to say to him, and as she takes the subway home, she keeps wondering what Takuya sees in her. She convinces herself that he'll come to hate her once he sees her real self. She then recalls her school days when she received a text from a classmate who asked to meet because he wanted to tell her something, and she started freaking out, thinking the boy was going to confess to her. She was so scared that she did not leave the house for 3 days, and she would start shaking every time her phone rang. The next week, when she returned to school, she learned that the guy who wanted to talk to her had waited for hours under scorching heat for her, and now he's in the hospital. She still feels dumb about that whole interaction, and now that she's facing a similar situation, she can't just hide and have history repeat itself. Thus, she decides to face her fears and ends up at Takuya's apartment. When Takuya opens the door, he is baffled to see her, but Rika doesn't falter and sternly tells him to go on a date with her. As Takuya stands there in shock, she demands that he go out with her, and Takuya says yes to save his skin. As she walks away, she promises to let him know where they're going and also apologizes for not picking up his calls. The following day, Takuya puts zero effort into looking good as he heads to the place where he's meeting Rika. Once he gets there, he wonders if this is her own way of accepting his proposal, but even then, he doesn't understand why she was so strict last night. He also wonders why she brought him to this place, and just then, she arrives, telling him it's the Hamura intake weir. He then notices that he's wearing leather shoes like an unk, even though she told him to wear something he's comfortable walking in. She reveals she's about to take him on a tour of the water duct, and he's free to leave anytime he wants. She then starts walking, telling herself that she's done trying too hard and won't be misled by Takuya's confusing behavior. She also plans to show him how she normally is, so he gets repulsed by her, but Takuya is just confused as to why she's acting like a moron. He then asks why she's doing a tour of this place, and she reveals it's because she saw it on her favorite traveling show. She further explains how she often visits places from that show, hoping to bore him with this stuff and make him leave. However, Takuya is impressed by her dedication and reveals he also watches that show. This makes her wonder if he watched last week's episode, but she quickly goes back to being stern, which makes Takuya nervous. As they continue exploring the water duct, Rika marks the spots on her map, all while Takuya watches her in awe. While she is expecting him to get bored, Bro gets more infatuated with her as time goes on. At one spot, he looks into the binoculars to see Mount Fuji, but when he asks Rika to check it out, he sees that she's already leaving. Chasing after her, he tells her it's almost lunchtime, but she continues walking, so he silently goes after her. When his tummy growls, Rika pulls out a protein bar from her bag and gives it to him. As they continue, they arrive at the water plant supplying water to the people, and Rika watches it with a smile on her face. She then closes her eyes to feel the wind and rustling of leaves, all while imagining how this water benefits the people. Takuya appears out of nowhere to share her enthusiasm, and Rika is shocked to see that he still hasn't left. Rika was under the assumption that she was alone, but now she feels embarrassed because she didn't want him to see her nerdy side. She tells him he should go if he's bored, but he shyly says he's enjoying it as he's never seen her have so much fun. This confuses Rika, because she was expecting him to be bored to death by now, so it makes her question if this doofus in front of her is actually human or not. She decides to call him out, asking why he's interested in boring activities like watching the river and watering plants. Before he can say anything, she says she cannot tolerate this confusion anymore and asks him never to see her again, much to his shock. She even agrees to take responsibility for everything as she is afraid of the person she becomes around him. Despite being hurt, Takuya respects his wishes, but as the silence fills the air, Rika suddenly feels like crying. She realizes she's shutting off again because she doesn't want to disappoint others, so she asks herself if this is what she truly wants. Finally, she admits to herself that she doesn't like this and wants to be with Takuya. Meanwhile, Ro is unsure of whether to protest or walk away, admitting that he's a loser who just accepts things as they are. When he realizes he has nothing to lose, he refuses to walk away and break the special bond he has with Rika. Thus, he grabs Rika's hand to stop her, and she also grabs his. At that moment, they both realize that they really want this, so they come closer and kiss while internally screaming. After the kiss, Takuya watches as Rika goes blank and asks him to give her a moment to process this. She recalls how they weren't even friends and merely decided to fake a marriage for selfish reasons. But friends wouldn't barge into each other's apartments or go on late-night walks in Aso. She asks him how they ended up kissing. but when Takuya says he has no idea, she hands him the map and tells him to go alone as she needs time to think. She assures him she's not angry with him before walking away, while Takuya dubs her the coolest chick on the block for acting so calm. In reality, when Rika reaches home, she finally explodes like a volcano, and she has to pull out all her favorite rocks to calm herself down. However, even that does not help as she continues running around in her living room like a hamster on a wheel. That night, their manager, Asako, gets a phone call from someone who informs her of something about the lovebirds. The next day, Takuya and Rika run into each other outside the office, and, unsure of how to act around each other, they choose to act really formal. Even during work hours, they are unable to look into each other's eyes, as the kiss keeps replaying in their minds. As they try to get a grip on it, Asako suddenly approaches them with a stern face and asks to have a word with them, making them both nervous. Luckily, she simply wants to talk to them about a new project, aimed at recruiting new people into their firm. She assumes Takuya and Rika are living together, so she asks them to blog their home and work life on their new site, so people would know their firm is all about husband-wife relations. She adds that they should only add the things they're comfortable with, and things like kissing should stay out of it, making them both shocked again. Later, the lovebirds meet at a cafe to discuss how to proceed, and Takuya worries it might be a trap to expose their fake marriage. He reminds Rika about the strange phone calls they both received, and she uses sumo terms to say that they keep landing themselves in dangerous situations. She isn't sure what will happen if they live together and blog it, so she considers giving up on the whole fake marriage thing. Remembering when she said she'd take all responsibility, Takuya asks if she's okay with being shipped to Alaska, but she admits she doesn't want to go there. Takuya also says he doesn't want to go either, so they should blog their live-in couple experience. This also means that they will actually have to live together, and Rika will have to move to Takuya's apartment since it's more spacious. Takuya is worried about how Tama will handle living with another person, so he asks Rika to give him 1 week's time before he makes a decision. That weekend, Rika goes mountain hiking to get his mind off things and spots a giant rock resting between two others. She gets fascinated as it looks like the rock may fall at any moment, but it's been stuck there for years. She realizes that she's also like this rock, ready to collapse at any moment, but she's somehow keeping it together. She also notes how Takuya has reached out to her multiple times, making her realize that she must make a decision very soon. She then gathers her balls and passes under the rock, which makes her feel accomplished. At night, Takuya is at home, fretting over not being able to come up with an answer, even though it's been 5 days. He is extra confused because he can never predict what Rika is going to do next, and he's reaching a point where nothing phases him anymore. Just then, his doorbell rings, and it's Rika on the other side, telling him that she's okay with living together. She's even brought a whole guideline on do's and don'ts of living together, and she wants to go over it with Takuya so they're on the same page. Once inside, Takuya reads the first rule, which says one must raise one's hand before any action, and this will protect against unforeseen circumstances. Rika also adds that they should live in Takuya's apartment to accommodate Tama, and she also proposes to split the rent and utility bills with Takuya. Bro says that he's got it covered, but Rika insists that she doesn't want to freeload. They quickly realize that the hand-raising rule is very exhausting, so they decide to take it easy while they're at home. After that, Rika says she will live in a tent so she doesn't invade his or Tama's personal space and proceeds to set up next to the window. Takuya asks what they will do about dinner, but when he realizes Rika didn't think of that, he decides to go on a grocery run and buy dinner on his way home. As he goes outside, Rika stays behind to set up the tent when she suddenly feels Tama standing behind her. Rika tries her best not to do any sudden movements, thinking Tama will hate her, but to her surprise, she starts cuddling with her feet. This puts Rika at ease, as it means Tama has accepted her into this apartment. Soon after, Takuya returns with dinner, and Rika pops out of her tent to greet him. Takuya asks if she'd like to join him while he cooks, and Rika gets nervous as they never drew a line on who'll do what chores. In the end, she agrees to join Takuya in the kitchen, and Bro puts up a fine dinner on the table in 15 minutes. As they sit together, Rika suddenly asks if she can open the window, making him wonder if his place stinks. In reality, Rika is worried she's smelling like sweat after setting up the tent. After that, she tastes the food and is shocked at how good it tastes. When she asks what his secret ingredients are, Takuya shows him the spices he uses in his food. After that, she taps into her dishwasher roll, but she's worried about bathing hours. Since she's nervous about using the bathroom around him, she decides to go back to her place for a bit. Unbeknownst to her, Takuya was also holding back, so he quickly heads to the bathroom while she's gone. As they both get fresh, they realize that living alone was a luxury they never appreciated enough. Soon after, Rika returns, and Takuya asks her what she'll do about bathing. This makes her panic as she can't use the bathroom while he is here, let alone get into the shower. Seeing her freeze in the spot, Takuya panics too, thinking she must have misunderstood what he meant by it. To calm her down, he tells her she doesn't have to do it here, as there is a bathhouse nearby at a walking distance. Hearing this, she leaves again, but Takuya decides to join her too, and after buying some stuff from the store, they head to the bathhouse. After taking her time in the bath, Rika steps out and assumes Takuya must have left already. However, she is shocked to find him waiting for her, which makes her blush. As they walk home, she's happy he waited for her, and Takuya thinks about how pretty she looks. Suddenly, their hands touch, and they quickly recoil back, wondering if they're getting laid tonight. Back in their room, as they sit across from each other, Rika tells him goodnight and turns the lights off, but Takuya cannot sleep at all, as he expected something to happen. Meanwhile, Rika can't sleep either as she wants to get smashed, but she's too scared to do anything. As Takuya picks up her phone to ask what kind of relationship they have, he realizes it sounds too forward. Just then, Rika texts him to ask if he's awake, and he says yes. Now both of them panic as they don't know how to continue, and they both type a suggestive message, but are too afraid to send. Just then, Rika jumps out of her tent, claiming it's way too hot in there, so they head to the balcony to cool off. There, they both realize this is way too hard, and things would be easier if they got married for real. A few days later, the two of them submit their blog to Asako, and she finds it so exciting that she wishes she had a husband too. She then asks them to keep blogging for another month, after which, she heads to the ugly manager from the other branch and confirms to him that Rika and Takuya are engaged for real. The guy says he never doubted it, but the head office wanted to confirm it, which is why he had her investigate. They then pick another candidate who would be shipped to Alaska, and Asako is sad because she doesn't want to lose anyone from her team. Soon after, the rumor spreads that Gonda is being selected as the Alaska branch manager, and the whole team starts consoling him. When Takuya learns of this, he starts to feel terrible as someone else is getting chopped due to his fake engagement. That night, while preparing the blog, Rika asks him if the rumor is true, but Takuya stays silent. Later in bed, Takuya feels bad because he never thought their plan would come at the expense of someone else, and Rika is going through the same dilemma. Overridden with guilt, Takuya meets Asako the next day and decides to tell her the truth, but after recalling the cute moments he shared with Rika, he starts to hesitate. This takes him back to his childhood, when his mother had given him money for safekeeping, but he used it to buy food. Later, he lied to his mother but was caught lying, which earned him a good scolding from her. At present, he feels like he hasn't grown up at all, so he takes a bow and apologizes to Asako, telling him that he faked his engagement because he didn't want to go to Alaska. He even volunteers to go as punishment, but Asako calmly tells him to follow her, taking him to the storage room where he sees Rika. Turns out, Rika had already told Asako the truth and also volunteered to go to Alaska. Instead of getting upset, Asako fully understands why they did it and tells them no one will have to go to Alaska because she's the one going there. Both of them are shocked to hear it, but she tells them to relax and get back to work. Later, Asako takes them on a walk where they both express that the firm will fall into chaos without her. However, Asako assures them things will be fine as they're all very competent, and she's excited to go on this journey. She reveals she loved to travel around the world when she was young, but ever since she took this job, she's been holed up in the office. Not only that, but she also has to be a good wife and a daughter-in-law, and even though she doesn't hate this life, she wants to do more. Later, as they walk back, Takuya believes that even though Asako told them all that, she might have made this decision selflessly for her employees. Even then, when they reach home, Takuya and Rika take off their rings, as they no longer need to keep up the act. Rika says it's for the best as their plan would have fallen apart in the end, and Takuya agrees, saying they should put an end to the lies. After that, they compile a list of the people they need to inform, as well as the price of the wedding gifts they received. Later, as they clean out the apartment, they cope by telling each other that marriage would be even harder than this. They come up with the conclusion that marriage is a scam, when in reality, both of them are sad that this is over. Soon after, it's time for them to part ways, and Rika coldly walks off to hide the stream of tears falling from her eyes. Meanwhile, Ro is watching her walk away, but he can't let a shawty slip from his grasp, so he runs after her to stop her. He tells her that they are neither friends nor co-workers, and after taking a deep breath, he asks if she'd like to marry him anyway. Rika sternly says yes, adding that even though they never dated or had a fated encounter, she wants to marry him. However, she goes soft to ask him if he really loves her, stating that she's a weirdo and she can't understand why anyone would want her. Takuya confidently says that he's in love with her, so Rika also declares that she loves him too. She also says she always thought of marriage as a finish line, but now she sees that it's the beginning of something beautiful. The next day, they meet again, and Takuya officially asks her if she'd marry her. Rika agrees with a smile, and after putting the rings on, she suggests they apologize to each other at the firm. Once there, everyone is confused as to whether they should be upset or congratulate them. However, Asako arrives and tells them to get back to work. Later, while Takuya is cleaning his apartment, he gets a call from the mysterious stranger, who congratulates him on actually getting engaged this time. Afterward, Takuya gets a text from Rika, who says she got some extra veggies on sale, and he can have some. Immediately, he heads out to meet her at the station, and Bro can spot her from a distance because she's glowing brighter than a light bulb. Bro starts blushing when he realizes she's going to be his wife, and as he waves at her from afar, Rika feels lucky to have a fiancé like him. As they start walking, both of them get machine gunned by Cupid, and later at a restaurant, Rika talks about an island she's discovered on the maps, while Takuya listens with full focus. After hours of yapping, they realize how much they love being around each other, and even just walking home together feels like heaven to them. On the way, Takuya suggests cutting through the park, so Rika asks him to hold hands with her. Although it makes him nervous, he goes for it, and they happily walk home. In the next few days, both their families will learn about their engagement, and their blog will even reach different corners of the world. A few days later, they visit Nao's workshop and break the news to her, and she immediately jumps into Takuya's arms in excitement. After that, they head to the vet for Tama's checkup, and everything turns out a-okay. The day after that, Rika wakes up in her apartment, and after getting ready, she meets Takuya at his place. There, they share a gentle kiss and live happily ever after. That's it for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed and watch this video on screen.